Hi, the topic for today is aggressive periodontitis. The term aggressive periodontitis, whenever you think about it, there are various terms that come to your mind, that flash in your mind, like juvenile periodontitis, early onset periodontitis. It gets very confusing with different terms when we relate to this particular condition. And there are various authors also involved in this particular condition. Learning it in a sequence makes it very easy for us to understand the evolution of this term right from 1923 to 1999. So let's just take a little look at its history and the sequence of events that took place. So it's a very interesting story that happened. So in 1923, Gottlieb in his patient who was suffering from influenza noticed something called diffuse atrophy of alveolar bone. So this particular condition he named as diffuse atrophy of alveolar bone. And he thought that this particular condition is a systemic manifestation of influenza. Then later in 1928, he came up with a term called deep cementopathia. He used this term because he saw that this particular condition that people are developing was because of defective cementum formation. And later in 1938, Banenmacher, he termed it as parodontitis marginalis progressiva. He noticed this disease particularly in affecting the incisors and molars, and he termed this word. And then in 1940, Thoma and Goldman, they called it as parodontosis. And they saw that this was a very degenerative kind of a condition. In 1942, Orban and Wieman came up with the word periodontosis. Now, periodontosis is a word which they particularly use because they do not want to highlight the inflammatory component. They said that this was not actually triggered by inflammation and it was more of a degenerative condition. But later, American Academy of Periodontology, they kind of removed this term as periodontosis. So, in 1967, Chaput, and in 1969, Butler, in their French and English literature, came up with a term called juvenile periodontitis. Now, the word juvenile periodontitis was used because they wanted to specify that this occurred in, basically very young people in the adolescent stage. So, they wanted to emphasize on that criteria, keeping the age as a main factor. So, they came up with this word juvenile periodontitis. Later, there were various authors, they came up, they started having terms like early onset periodontitis, rapidly progressive periodontitis. Then finally, in 1999, the American Academy of Periodontology, they kind of changed this term from juvenile periodontitis to aggressive periodontitis. The main reason for doing this is they wanted to eliminate age as a criterion to discuss or to classify this disease, and they just wanted to highlight the importance of its aggressive nature. So finally, we have the term aggressive periodontitis. And now we know the series of changes it took place from diffuse atrophy of alveolar bone to aggressive periodontitis. If you just remember these very important authors right from the year till how it kind of evolved, it becomes very easy and the sequence gets very easy as to why there were change of terms and what they actually noticed that caused them to kind of classify this particular term with this particular disease. So after the entire history that we have explained, let's just have a kind of brief idea on the prevalence and where exactly this particular disease is seen. So, various authors did various studies and they found out that this had a racial predilection when it came to classifying this disease. So, African males were more prone to African females who were more prone than the white females, compared to the white males. And coming to the Asians, there were 0.2% of the people who were affected from this particular condition. So the prevalence is important because there are various questions asked where they could actually specify the particular person's race. So when you have any condition that a race is specified, so it gets very easy that you can keep this as a factor to kind of get to your answer. So the next important thing that we would be discussing is the etiology. What exactly causes this particular condition? So there are various factors that are involved. There are 4 most important factors that you need to keep in mind. The first thing is the microbial factor. The second is the immunological factor. Immunological factor is nothing but your host response. The third is your genetic factor. And the fourth is your environmental factor. Now, sometimes what happens is it's a culmination of all these factors. So there are various modifying factors that can cause this disease. There are 2 to 3 factors involved together to cause this disease, or sometimes it's just one factor in exorbitant amounts that causes this disease. So 4 topics that you can remember: microbiological, immunological, genetic, and environmental. Let's take one at a time. So the most important thing that you would want to know when it comes to microbiology is what are the different important microorganisms implicated for this disease. This is very important because it's asked in various MCQs. So when we let's look at one category at a time. So aggressive periodontitis on the whole was classified into localized and generalized. We'll get into the details later. Right now, regarding microbiology, let's first discuss localized aggressive periodontitis. So when we come to localized aggressive periodontitis, so the most important microorganism that should flash your mind is AA. AA is nothing but Aggregator-Bacter Actinomycetum comitans. Now, I've just created a small mnemonic for you so that it's very easy for you to understand this, the list of microorganisms implicated in this. So we have a mnemonic called SPACE with an extra A to remember all the microorganisms. These are important microorganisms that are implicated in localized. So for S, it's Spirochetes. For P, it's Prevotella intermedia. For A, the most important that actually should come in your mind first, but this is just a mnemonic for you to just understand. So don't go this by the prevalence or this is important, that's not important. It's just arranged so that you can kind of remember it better. So it's Aggregator-Bacter Actinomycetum comitans. That's very important. Then you have Actinomyces. Then you have Capnocytophaga species. And you have Echinella corrodens. So it gets very easy for you to remember. If it's localized, then I just remember SPACE with an extra A. So I know the list of all the microorganisms that I can kind of come up with when it comes to localized aggressive periodontitis. It just makes it very simpler. Then when we come with generalized aggressive periodontitis, what do I remember this as? So it's just made it simpler. You can remember it as P square fact. Now how do I elongate this? Most important comes is Porphyromonas gingivalis. That's with the first P. Then the next would be Prevotella intermedia. From F we have Fusobacterium nucleatum. From A again we have Aggregator-Bacter Actinomycetum comitans. From C, in localized it was Capnocytophaga, but here it is Campylobacter rectus. So that's just the subtle C change that you need to remember. So this is Campylobacter rectus, and from T we have Tannerella forsythia. So it gets very simple, all the microorganisms, important ones related to this particular disease. So once we do the microorganisms, how do they basically cause this disease? We need to know that. So what are the virulence factors? So that is one of the important concept right now that we'll be discussing. What are the important virulence factors? Now, whenever I think of AA, I have a list of virulence factors that cause the disease, how they cause the disease. Let's go one by one. So the first thing that we would want to go with is leukotoxin. Leukotoxin, because it destroys all the polymorphonuclear neutrophils and all the macrophages. The second thing is endotoxin. Endotoxin, what it basically does is it releases pro-inflammatory cytokines like tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 1 beta. So all of this causes destruction in the periodontium. The third one is bacteriocin. What does bacteriocin does? It inhibits the growth of beneficial species. So the microbiological species implicated in this organism can colonize that particular site. Then the fourth one is immunologic. In immunological factor, what it does is it kind of inhibits the immunoglobulins like immunoglobulin G, immunoglobulin M. Then we have chemotactic inhibiting factor. So chemotactic inhibiting factor will prevent the chemotaxis, so it prevents the destruction of this microorganism, so it thrives in that particular diseased site. So the next one is the collagenase that destroys the collagen fibers around. So these are the important virulence factors that you need to remember when it comes to the various ways by which this AA, Aggregatobacter actinomycetum comitans, destroys the periodontium. So now we know the history, the evolution of the terms, the various microbiological factors. So what's the next etiological factor that we would want to discuss? It is the host response factors. So when it comes to host response factors, we need to remember that when Aggregatobacter actinomycetum comitans or various microorganisms are involved in aggressive perio, when it actually destroys the periodontium, there are various factors that are released from this particular microorganism. That is all the virulence factors. So what do these virulence factors do is, they release opsonin antibodies. Okay, and then they cause destruction of polymorphonuclear neutrophils and macrophages. So when your immune system is destroyed, there is more likely progression of this particular disease. So that is to do with the way the host immune factors are influenced. So the third etiological factor we would discuss is the genetic factor. In genetic factor, you just need to remember it follows a Mendelian trait. Mendelian trait is basically the autosomal dominant way of passing of this disease from the parent to the child. And the fourth important etiological factor is the environmental factor. So under this, one of the important key factors you can remember is smoking. So there are various studies that have been done that people who smoke are more likely to develop this particular condition, provided there are various other factors also contributing to it. So when it comes to etiology, we've discussed 4 important points. That's microbiological, we have host immune factors, we have the genetic factors, and we have the environmental factors. So now we know how this disease is caused. So let's just look at one of the MCQ, since we have a not exactly rough idea, we have the entire idea of various microorganisms involved. So now we know how basically we would be approaching this particular MCQ. So microorganisms significantly associated with rapidly progressive periodontitis. So I have my 4 options. Since I know my list, in localized aggressive periodontitis, it would be space with an extra A, and in a generalized aggressive periodontitis is going to be P square and fact. So I know my list, I know it in my mind. So now let me try and kind of eliminate one of the options and arrive at the right answer. So Porphyromonas gingivalis, Borrelia vincenti and spirochetes. Borrelia vincenti, I don't think we came across in any of those mnemonics that we prepared. So I think I eliminate this option. My second option is Treponema denticola, Fusobacterium nucleatum, Aggregatobacter actinomycetum comitans, and Campylobacter rectus. Treponema denticola also I have not come across. With T, the mnemonic was Stannarella forsythia. So I eliminate B option as well. Coming to this third option, it's Aggregator-Bacter, Actinomycetum comitans, Capnocytophaga, Echinella corrodens, and Prevotella intermedia. And all of these microorganisms fit my mnemonic. So this is likely the answer. Let's just look at the fourth option as well. Fusobacterium, Bacilli, and Tanner forsythia. It's the wrong answer. So while I eliminate each option, I arrive at the right answer. So my right answer is option C.